Although some people say he's just a crazy guy, to me he means a million other things. For he's the one who...
About 10 years ago, it all started. We were talking with the then curator of the museum, and we said, well, it's okay helping you with these exhibits, but we'd really like to make an aeroplane that flew. And so he said, well, have you got any ideas, any suggestions? So we said, well, what about the Blériot? He said, well, if you want to kill yourself, the Blériot is a pretty good way of doing it. One thing he would love to have associated with the airfield here is a 1.5 strutter. We'd never heard of the 1.5 strutter before. So we then found out that a squadron flew in World War I from this airfield here. So we formed this subgroup of the APSS, the Aviation Preservation Society of Scotland. We worked mostly helping the museum with their artefacts, painting the Vulcans outside and the outdoor exhibits, and shifting aircraft around and doing refurbishments, repair jobs on them. Everything has to be approved to the satisfaction of our inspector, CAA inspector, so he keeps an eye on us. At first he was a bit sceptical that we could handle it, but after we'd made the first bits, which was the tail assembly, after we'd made those, he said, right, you can make it. When we know that it's going to fly and we're going to fly in it, it concentrates the mind. We hadn't realised when we started, like people never do, what a big project it was. To make all these components, every component, can't go to B&Q and buy wood, and you can't go to any hardware shops and buy bolts and things. Everything has to be aircraft quality because it's a flying machine.
Because there are not many duplicate parts, there's no point in getting them cut by laser or anything like that. They have to be done individually in a laborious way, but it's the only way.
It's taken 4 weeks so far to make this. Make it by hand, bend it. If you've got cracks in it, it's no good. So another piece, it's no use. So we could build a few aeroplanes with scrap. Not a good idea.
It was an extremely advanced aircraft for its era. One of the features it had was the variable incidence tailplane. That's this structure here, which the angle of which could be altered by the pilot from the cockpit. The weight of the aircraft would change as it burnt up its fuel, as it used up all its castor oil, as it fired all its ammunition, and it would go out of trim. And the pilot simply trimmed it to suit the weight at the time.
The Germans had an ascendancy because they were firing through the propeller. This was the first aircraft, British aircraft, to do that. It had a lot of firsts. It was the first also fitted with air brakes and a few other things.
When they were building these aircraft, they were building them for a very short life. I mean, if they lasted 3 weeks in the battlefield, they were doing very well. Even if they did last longer, they knew when they built them they were going to be superseded by the next generation of aircraft. The glues were not that important. They had to be strong enough at the time, but not necessarily all that durable. This one, we hope, is going to last a long time.
The volunteers who come here every week come as volunteers, as I say. we're here almost as much for a social event as for doing the work, because it's great. Not just in the radio and radar group, but with all the rest of the guys who are working on the 1.5 struther and who are working on some of the museum aircraft. Some of us meet first thing in the morning, have a chat. Then at lunchtime we all get together in the mess room, if you can call it that, and have lunch and share jokes, share stories. We also share any events which are going on and share any news which is going on.
Show the lads the stamping. When you get your fabric, you've got to make sure that you...
Yes, we count ourselves very lucky to be able to come in on a Wednesday and a Thursday and work with the like-minded guys on these things. It's very good.
Good engineers who can do good things, talented people, and I think they'd like to pass on these skills to boys and girls who want to learn the rudiments of engineering.
We've sold some of our own artefacts, a Monarch, an Oster and this, that and the other, to raise the funds to build this aircraft. And so far, including the engine and everything else, it's cost us about £40,000. And it's a lot of money, you know, for a group of volunteers who only pay £15 a year each for membership.
Another thing which I would like to emphasise is the nice thing about this project is that nobody's here because they have to be here. We're all here because we like making things. And quite honestly, I'd be happy making this plane for the rest of my life.
We count ourselves very fortunate indeed that we can have the opportunity of meeting with a nice bunch of old guys. We all work well together and end up with something which is a thing of beauty and hopefully functional as well. And we will be delighted to see it fly in and to fly with it.
For he's the one who taught this happy heart of mine to fly. He wears a pair of silk